Hi, CFC community. Welcome back. It's good to see you again. My name is Shireen Gerges. For those of you who don't know me or haven't seen me before, I'm one of the co-founders of Common Thread. And today we're going to be talking about the third behavioral framework in our session called the increasing vaccination model. The increasing vaccination model is pretty simple, I think. Hopefully you'll think so too. And it basically, what the increasing vaccination model really tries to convey is that there are two important factors that determine people's motivation: what they think and feel, so their emotional state of mind, their risk perception, how worried they are, their confidence in vaccines, their social processes that surround them. So what is their healthcare provider recommending? What are the social norms around them? What are the gender norms around them? And those two things really feed into their motivation. So are they willing to get vaccinated? Do they have an intention to get vaccinated, or are they hesitant and maybe not ready? But that's not enough to lead to vaccination. What can sometimes get in the way even of really positive intention. So you could have really positive emotions, you can have a really positive social process and a really positive intention to vaccinate, but these practical issues can get in the way of even the best intentions. So is the vaccine available? Is it convenient? Is the service of high quality and respectful? Are people sort of incentivized? Do they see a value in completing the behavior? So what this model basically says is that practical issues can get in the way of even the best motivations and intentions to get vaccinated. So let's think about how this applies to John, who hopefully you all remember. You've seen him quite a bit by now. So if you remember John's profile, he has positive intentions to get vaccinated. His approval level is about a 6 on a scale of 1 to 10, being the highest. He thinks vaccination is a good idea, but he's not going to go out of his way to do it. When the vaccination team comes to his home, he will bring his children, or if a vaccination team comes to his home, he will bring his children. But that means that his children are not fully vaccinated according to the schedule, but they are vaccinated. There are rumors circulating around vaccine safety and conspiracy theories in his community. He's not really sure what he feels about them, but he doesn't really believe them. So what John needs is to understand the importance of adhering to a vaccination schedule. He needs to understand vaccination from people that he can trust. He needs convenient access to vaccination, and he also needs access to other health services that meet his needs, because it's not easy for him to get to a health center. So if we apply what we know about John to the increasing vaccination model, we start to get a sense of what John thinks and feels. So he has a reasonably high level of risk perception because he thinks that his child is at risk of getting measles because others around him have gotten it. John isn't sure if he should trust the vaccinators. Religious leaders in his community think vaccination is a conspiracy. And although John doesn't have safety concerns about the vaccine, he does worry that he might contract COVID-19 if he brings his child to the clinic. So he does have some safety concerns. In terms of social processes that are supporting or preventing John from vaccinating his child, he's the head of the household. So that's good. He can make decisions. He has autonomy. His community is skeptical of vaccines, though, and many religious leaders have spoken against vaccination. So mixed on social processes, which basically leads to kind of mixed motivations for John. He's willing to get his children vaccinated if it's easy, if it's convenient, but he does worry about the risk of COVID-19. He has his wife pressuring him to get their child vaccinated. And so what do we think is going to be John's decision? Is he going to get vaccinated or not? What do people think? I'll give you a minute to think about it. So whatever you've decided his motivation is, whether it's high or low, please now add the practical issues that might influence John's decision. He's doesn't have transportation. It's been stopped due to COVID-19. So it's pretty hard for John to access vaccination services. So do we think he's going to take his child? Based on this model, it is somewhat likely that John will vaccinate his child. So the increasing vaccination model shows us that he's got some things in favor of him vaccinating. He has the autonomy to bring his child to get vaccinated. He's a man. He has high risk perception, but he also has some pretty significant barriers like access. He has difficulty accessing. He's got some fear of contracting COVID. And so probably John's good intentions will make it less likely for him to turn his intentions into action. So this is not such a different result that we heard from the other models. But what this model maybe leans into more are the individual factors. So we know a lot about John, but we know less about his context and the policy environment, the community environment, as we did maybe compared to the health belief model and the socio-ecological models. However, this model does point us to very similar interventions from the other models as well. So based on this model, if I were to ask you what type of intervention might you employ to encourage John to bring his son to the outpatient center, I hope you're all thinking about ways to make vaccination more accessible to John. And so you could think about providing safe and socially distant transportation, or having healthcare workers go door to door wearing protective PPE. And so the interventions are similar to some of the other interventions that we could have gotten from the other models. So as you're hopefully realizing by now, all of the models offer value. They dig into slightly different information on what might be influencing John's behavior. And this is the beauty and complexity of behavior change. It's not a physics equation like our rocket ship. There's no just one right or wrong answer of how we're going to influence John. It's complex, it's context specific. Everybody's different, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't approach it scientifically. So approach it with a model, pick a model that you feel comfortable with, make an assumption and a hypothesis like a scientific process. Test those assumptions, learn, and then go back. And so it's really important to make sure that we're approaching behavior change as we would any other scientific process. So now we've gone through 3 models. The socio-ecological model is great for any social and behavior change challenge. Sometimes it could be fairly general, but it's great when it's combined with other models. The health belief model is used to address behaviors of individuals, in particular during a disease outbreak. It doesn't necessarily go into social, economic, and environmental factors of behaviors, and it may be incomplete. It is incomplete as looking at how individuals assess risk. The increasing vaccination model, which is what we just talked about, can be used when addressing immunization behavior and picking apart what's a supply barrier and what's a demand barrier, but it can be overgeneralizing into broad categories because there's just a few simple categories, which is both a strength and a weakness. So I have one final activity for you that you can do on your own and hopefully upload for us to look at. First, we're going to watch a movie, a very short clip about a mother's journey to vaccinate her child in Sierra Leone.
Yeah, me sakadi no hospital. Medere kula media book ni kadi bola. So from no church. So teme sakadi de. Ema kleti munang ateme de katikati ema de so an kanya ma kleti otuwe. Sidini. Ye pa karawan no hospital. Amali song am. Ni sa. Let's sa ambil mangyalo say. Era tori kulomong ama glitz ngan tatanos nini. Ma tori su. De angkolo ngache. Botre ma glitz Ipi chen sudu babsako. Ofie. Alom nanye sankalani. Ini sa. Machine. Lomam singe sai. Lomam sini aku sini. Aim chitu no dire. Kue. Sto kane pa konu. Kuku. Ayon kuku. Konu ba se ma glitz anfeton. Kamu no poi.